Well, hello everybody and welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to be making something called Sochniki. This seems to be a Ukrainian and sometimes Russian dessert or cake. It's actually a bit like a scone or a scone, but it's filled before baking. And for that we make a dough, which a sort of scone type dough, and then we fill it with some ricotta cheese. In the Ukrainian, in Russia, they tend to use cottage cheese, but I'm using ricotta. Now I've seen various recipes for this and I've watched some videos, but I think that the way I'm going to do it will be good for me, although it may not be entirely authentic, but I think it's fairly close to what the originals used to be. So for the ingredients I have, and first of all I'll start off with the dough mixture. I have 400 grams, which is 3 cups plus 2 tablespoons of plain flour. I have 120 grams, which is 1 stick plus half a tablespoon of softened butter. I have 1 medium egg, which would be large in the USA. I have 140 grams, which is 3/4 of a cup minus 2 teaspoons of sugar. I have 100 milliliters, which is half a cup minus 4 teaspoons of double cream. And I have 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Then for the filling, I have 200 grams, 7 ounces of ricotta, which I have drained the liquid from. I have 40 grams, which is 5 tablespoons of plain flour. I have 15 milliliters of soured cream, which is 1 tablespoon. I have 1 medium egg white, which would be large in the USA. 50 grams, 1/4 of a cup of caster sugar, and I have the zest of a lemon, and I have the lemon here, and it's not yet zested, but I'll zest that by the time we need it for the filling, but I don't want the zest to dry out particularly at this stage. So we'll go on first of all to make our dough, and for that I'm going to put into a large bowl my 120 grams of softened butter, and my 140 grams of sugar, and I'm going to mix those together until they're nice and creamy. Okay, so that's fine. And so into that I'm going to add the cream, and the vanilla extract, and I'm going to mix those in as well. That's good. And then I'm going to put the egg in and mix that until it's combined. Okay, so that's all nicely combined. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a pinch of salt into my flour, and I'm going to put the baking powder in as well. And I'm going to mix that around just so that the baking powder gets mixed in to the flour. And then I'm going to mix that into this egg mixture in about 4 stages. And I'm going to do that with a spoon or a spatula because I don't want to overwork this mixture. And with that mixed in to that stage, you can either turn this out onto the work surface to pull it together, or I think I can do that in my bowl. And what I want to do is just keep squeezing it together until it all comes together, but without mixing it too much. And that looks, I think, quite good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap that in cling film in a disc shape, and I'm going to chill it in the fridge for an hour. And then while it's chilling, we'll get on and we'll make the filling. Well, the filling is quite simple to put together. The first thing we're going to do is put the ricotta into a bowl, and then I'm going to add the flour into that as well, and I'm going to stir it. I'm actually going to use my hand mixer on a low speed, but just stir it all together. Like that, and then I'm going to add in the lemon zest, the sugar, the egg white, and the soured cream. Whoops. And mix again until it all comes together. And that looks good enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scrape that just to check it. That looks good enough. Now if you think it's too runny, because what you're going to do is you're going to put this into the scone mixture, you can add a little bit more flour just to firm it up a little bit. I think mine's going to be okay, and I'm going to cover that with cling film or plastic wrap. I keep calling it cling film, which is what we use as a term over here. Plastic wrap, and chill it until I'm ready to use it after I've rolled out my dough to the requisite size. So I'll be back when the dough's chilled and ready to roll, and we'll get on and fill these, and then I'll tell you about what we do with the top as well. And in the meantime, I will have preheated my oven to 200 Celsius, that's 180 Celsius with a fan, 400 Fahrenheit, and I will have prepared a couple of baking trays with parchment paper ready to bake them. So I'll be back when everything's ready to be assembled. The dough has been chilling now for about an hour, so I have my oven preheating at 200 Celsius, that's 180 Celsius with a fan, 400 Fahrenheit, and I've taken the dough out of the fridge, and I'm going to divide it into 6 parts. I also have 2 baking trays lined with parchment paper. I could probably just use one, but I'm using 2 just for convenience. So I'll set 5 of the parts to one side. What I want to do is to form this into a disc which is about 5 inches in diameter, and I have a little thing here which will help me make sure I've got the right size. So I'm just going to roll it. Now a lot of the recipes say roll it out to 3 to 4 millimeters in thickness. Well, I'm not going to bother with that. I'm rolling out the pastry until I can get my disc, which is 5 inches in diameter, and that will be good enough, I think. So that's easily good enough. So I'm going to just cut through that and discard the excess. If I made more mixture, then I could easily re-roll these offcuts, but only once. So with that, like that, I'm actually just going to make a slight indentation there, and then I'm going to take 60 grams of my mixture, which I have in a bowl. I put it into a different bowl and I have it on my scale. And I'm going to put it into the centre. I'm just going to push it a little bit like that, and then I'm going to pull this half up over like that and just push the very corners down a little bit, and then I'm going to transfer that onto my baking sheet. And I'll do the same with the remainder. And with the Sochniki rolled out and filled like that. I've taken the egg yolk that I had from that egg white and mixed it with a tablespoon of milk, and I'm going to brush the tops of each one. And then I'm simply going to sprinkle a little bit of caster sugar over the top as well. I've got about a teaspoon to a teaspoon and a half here. And I'm going to freeze the excess pastry because I can use that for something else another time. So with those done like that, I'm going to put them into my oven and I'm going to bake them for 20 to 25 minutes until the top has turned a nice golden colour. And then I'm going to take them out and let them cool down on the baking tray for a couple of minutes, then transfer them to a wire rack, and then I'll come back and show you the results. Our sochniki are now baked, and this is what they look like. Now I have dusted these, so I've let them cool down. So I put them onto a wire rack and let them cool down. Then I dusted them with some icing sugar, and I've cut one so you can see inside. So they don't close up, which is how they're supposed to be, just like that. And they're nice and full. So I'm going to have a taste of one. That is very, very good. You've got that texture, and it is, the outside is slightly firm, but the inside is quite scone-like in texture as far as the dough, the pastry is concerned. And then you've got that lovely creamy ricotta filling with just a hint of lemon. It tastes very good indeed. So I'm very pleased with how these have turned out, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. And if you have, please give me the thumbs up below it and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there will be an eye that you can click on, which will take you to the recipe, and I'll put a link below the video for that as well. And then I will be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.